My boots still carried a thin coat of Iraqi dust when I stepped off the plane at DFW. The terminal smelled like cinnamon pretzels and brewed coffee, smells that used to mean home. Now, they just made my chest ache. I stopped at a little cafe near the baggage claim, slid into a booth, and set my duffel down. My phone buzzed, a cluster of notifications lighting up the cracked screen. One voicemail caught my eye, my cousin, her voice shaky. "Claire, Grandma's in the hospital. It's bad. They don't think she is long." My heart dropped into my stomach. I'd been dreaming of surprising everyone. Walking through the front door, seeing Grandma's face light up like it always did when I came home. I hadn't told a soul I was getting discharged early. I wanted it to be special. My thumb hovered over Instagram before I even knew why. And there they were, Mom and Dad, tan, glowing, clinking margaritas in Cabo. The caption read, "Finally, a week to ourselves. #no regrets." I stared at the screen until my coffee went cold. So Grandma was dying and they were on a beach somewhere, laughing, carefree. I pressed my palms into the table, forcing myself to breathe. I'd just spent a year watching my battle buddies fight to stay alive, and now the one person who ever made me feel safe was slipping away. And I was the only one rushing home to her. I drove straight from the airport toward the old neighborhood, my hands gripping the wheel so tightly my knuckles ached. Somewhere between the freeway exit and Grandma Street, the memories started creeping back, memories I usually kept locked away. I was 17 the night everything blew up. Dad had been standing by the kitchen island, scrolling through his phone while Mom poured herself another glass of Chardonnay. I'd just come home from school, a crumpled enlistment brochure sticking out of my backpack. "You're not joining the army, Claire." Dad didn't even look up. "I'm 18 in 2 months, I snapped. "You can't stop me." Mom laughed, actually laughed, and said, "You're too sensitive for that kind of life. You'd never last." That did it. My face burned hot, and my throat ached like I'd swallowed barbed wire. "You guys never believe I can do anything hard. You've been telling me my whole life I'm not tough enough, not smart enough, not enough. Well, guess what? I am." Dad finally looked at me, expression cold. "If you walk out that door, don't come crying back when you fail." I'd started shaking then, with anger, not fear. My bag was already packed, though I hadn't meant to leave that night. Grandma was the only one who came after me as I stormed out. She met me at the porch with that soft, steady look she always had. "Claire Bear," she whispered, pressing something into my palm. Her silver locket, the one with a tiny photo of her and Grandpa inside. "Wherever you go, you carry us with you. Don't let anyone tell you who you are. Go find out for yourself." I swallowed hard and hugged her so tight I felt her ribs. She smelled like lavender soap and vanilla cookies, like safety. Then I left. The bus ride to the recruiter's office was the longest night of my life. I kept the locket clenched in my fist the entire way, tears streaming silently down my face as the city lights blurred past the window. That was the night I decided I'd rather be alone and prove myself than stay and let them break me piece by piece. Basic training was a shock to the system. The first morning, I woke up to a drill sergeant's voice like a thunderclap and boots pounding the barracks floor. My legs felt like lead as I stumbled out of bed, hair sticking to my face. I wanted to cry, to run, to quit, but every time my hands trembled, I felt the smooth edges of Grandma's locket under my shirt and held on tighter. I learned to run until my lungs burned, to do push-ups until my arms shook, to swallow fear and keep moving. The other girls and I became sisters. We traded protein bars, shared stories of home, whispered about what we missed most. I always said cookies when they asked me what I missed, but the truth was, I missed having someone who believed in me. Grandma's letters started arriving the second week. They smelled faintly of her kitchen, like sugar and cinnamon, and always ended with, "I'm proud of you, Claire Bear. Keep going." I kept those letters in a neat stack under my pillow, rereading them whenever the days got too hard. Over time, I got stronger. My mile time dropped, my arms stopped aching after PT, and for the first time in my life, I looked in the mirror and saw a woman who could take care of herself. Deployment was another level entirely. The desert heat was brutal, the nights colder than I expected. I learned how to stay alert, how to scan every shadow for danger, how to calm my breathing when mortars hit close enough to rattle my teeth. On quiet nights, I'd sit outside with my notebook, writing letters to Grandma. I never told her about the worst parts, the fear, the noise, the smell of burning sand, but I told her about the stars. How they looked so close out there, like I could reach up and grab one. I never told Mom or Dad much. When I posted pictures online, they were the cheerful kind, me grinning with my unit, holding up care packages, pretending everything was normal. I figured they didn't care enough to ask for more. My first real win came during deployment too. I got promoted to sergeant after stepping up during a crisis, when our squad leader got injured. Everyone told me I'd kept the team together, that I'd saved lives. That night, I took out Grandma's locket and whispered, "See? You were right. I am enough." By the time my discharge date came through, I had savings in the bank, medals in my duffel, and a spine of steel. I'd left home as a scared girl. I was coming back a soldier. But the first person I wanted to see wasn't my parents. It was Grandma, the one person who'd never stopped believing in me. By the time I pulled into the hospital parking lot, my hands were shaking so badly I had to sit there for a moment just to breathe. The sky was heavy with gray clouds, like even the weather knew this was a bad day. The antiseptic smell hit me the moment I stepped inside. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead as I made my way to the ICU. My boots squeaked against the polished linoleum floor, my duffel slung over my shoulder like it still belonged there. Grandma was in the last room on the right. I stopped in the doorway, my breath catching. She looked so small, swallowed up by the hospital bed, her silver hair a halo against the white pillow. The monitor beeped steadily. Too slow, too fragile. I dropped my bag and rushed to her side, taking her thin hand in both of mine. "Hey, Grandma," I whispered, my voice breaking. Her eyelids fluttered, and then she smiled, the same soft, knowing smile that had carried me through so many dark nights. "Claire Bear," she said, barely above a whisper. "You made it." Tears blurred my vision. "Of course I did. I came straight from the airport. I wasn't going to let you do this alone." She squeezed my hand with surprising strength. Always my strong girl. I stayed like that for hours, talking to her about Iraq, about the stars, about how her letters had kept me alive in more ways than one. She listened, nodding faintly, her thumb brushing the back of my hand. It was nearly evening when the door finally opened again. My parents walked in, all golden tans and expensive luggage, their sunglasses perched on their heads like they were still on vacation. Mom froze when she saw me sitting there in uniform, my boots scuffed, my hair pulled back tight. "Claire," she said, blinking. I didn't move. "Surprise," I said flatly. Dad cleared his throat, looking suddenly uncomfortable. "We didn't know you were home." "No one told me Grandma was in the hospital until this morning," I said, my voice calm but razor sharp. "But I see you two had time for margaritas in Cabo." Mom opened her mouth, then closed it again. For once, she had nothing clever to say. Dad glanced at Grandma, who was watching all of us with tired eyes. We didn't think it was this serious," he said finally. I stood, squaring my shoulders. "You didn't think at all. I just spent a year overseas, watching people fight to stay alive, and the one person who actually gave a damn about me almost died alone." The room went very still. Mom's voice cracked. "Claire, No," I said firmly. "You don't get to explain this away."
Not tonight.
Grandma deserves peace, not excuses. I turned back to Grandma, my anger melting the moment I saw her watching me with pride, not pity. "She's right," Grandma whispered, her voice weak, but steady. "You've been gone, and she's been out there fighting. It's time you both saw her for who she really is." I swallowed hard. "I'm not the scared girl who left this house anymore," I said, looking directly at my parents. "I'm a soldier. I'm someone who can stand on her own 2 feet, whether you believe in me or not." For a moment, nobody spoke. My parents just stood there, stunned, their vacation glow dimming under the fluorescent lights. For the first time in my life, I had their full attention. The silence in the room stretched so long I could hear the monitor's steady beeping like a metronome. Finally, I took a deep breath and stepped closer to the bed, still holding Grandma's hand. "Here's how this is going to work," I said, my voice calm but unshakable. "If you two want a relationship with me, if you want to be in my life from this point forward, things have to change." Dad frowned, his pride flashing for a second. "Claire." No, my tone stopped him cold. "You don't get to interrupt me this time. You've been interrupting me my whole life. I'm done being the kid you can talk over." Mom's lips pressed together, and for once, she stayed quiet. I straightened my shoulders, feeling the weight of my uniform like armor. "First, when family needs you, you show up. No excuses, no last-minute flights from Cabo. You show up, even when it's inconvenient. Especially then." They exchanged a glance but said nothing. "Second," I continued, "you start respecting my choices. I joined the military because I wanted to prove to myself I was strong enough. And I was. I am. You don't get to act like it was some phase or mistake. You don't get to ignore who I am anymore." My voice cracked, but I pressed on. "And last, I want honesty. No more pretending we're some perfect family for Instagram while we ignore the stuff that really matters. If something is wrong, we say it. If someone is hurting, we deal with it. I won't do this halfway anymore." Dad let out a slow breath and rubbed the back of his neck. Mom's eyes were glassy, but she nodded slowly. Grandma's thumb brushed over my knuckles again. "That's my girl," she whispered. I looked back at my parents. "I'm not SA. I'm not saying this to hurt you. I'm saying it because I'm done being invisible in my own family. You either meet me halfway, or you lose me for good." The words hung there like a challenge. Mom finally spoke, her voice quiet. We didn't realize how much we were hurting you." Dad nodded, looking down at his shoes. "You're right. We should have been here. We should have been better." I didn't smile, but something in my chest loosened. "This is your chance," I said softly. "To do better. For Grandma. For me. For all of us." No one argued. For the first time in years, I felt like I wasn't begging for their approval. I was setting the terms, and they were listening. Grandma passed 2 days later, peacefully, with my hand in hers. The room was quiet except for the soft hum of the machines, and then even that stopped. I pressed her locket to my lips and whispered, "I'll make you proud." The funeral was small, just close family. For the first time, Mom and Dad didn't try to control anything. No fake smiles, no photo ops. They let me speak. I stood at the podium in my dress uniform, the locket resting against my heart. "Grandma taught me that strength doesn't mean being loud or perfect," I said, voice steady despite the lump in my throat. "It means showing up, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard." Afterward, my parents didn't rush off to their next trip. Instead, they followed me to Grandma's house. We sat on the porch, drinking her favorite sweet tea in silence. For once, it wasn't an awkward silence. It felt different, like we were all finally starting over. Weeks later, Mom called me out of the blue. "How are you doing?" she asked softly. No agenda, no small talk. Just a real question. Dad sent me a picture of himself fixing the squeaky porch swing at Grandma's house. Little things, but they meant more than they knew. One evening, I walked out to the old oak tree behind Grandma's garden. The sunset was blazing orange and gold, the same way it used to be when I was a kid sitting out there with her. I held the locket in my hand, running my thumb over its smooth surface. For the first time in years, my chest didn't feel so heavy. "I came back from Iraq unannounced," I said aloud, smiling at the sky. "And for once, they finally saw me.